Long, long ago, in the province of Tango, in a little village by the shore, Mizu Ie, there lived a fisher lad, Urashima Taro. He was very well known for his prowess as a fisherman, but not only that, he was beneficent, kind to everyone, and he was treasured for that. Well, one day he had come in from his fishing, and there was quite a row near the road, right off the beach, and there was a crowd of young children, ruffians really, and they were making such a noise. And he got closer and he saw that they had a tortoise, a sea tortoise, and they were teasing it, or we might say torturing it. One pulled one leg this way, and another one pulled another leg of the tortoise this way, and one was reaching in to try to get the head out, and another took a stone and was pounding the shell of the turtle. Urashima stepped forward and he tried to reason with them. "Oh, dear boys, I know you're just mischievous. You're really not bad lads." I love the way they talk in the fairy tales. "And will you give that turtle to me, because it's no use to you. You're going to pound it to death." First he tried reason. Well, that didn't work. "No, why should we give it to you? We found it, it's ours." And they continued beating on the turtle. Urashima stepped back and he thought, "I must try a different tact with these boys." And he thought, what would work with them? And he felt in his pocket and he pulled out some coins on a string. And he went forward and he said, "Boys, accept this as a gift from your Oji-san, your uncle. These coins will provide more entertainment than that turtle. Give the turtle over to me." And so the boys, intrigued by the notion of the coins and what they could buy, gave him the tortoise and ran away laughing. And Urashima took the tortoise and he stroked the shell and said, "Mr. Tortoise, surely if you come back to these shores, you have to be more careful, because there might not be anyone like me to protect you. And here, I will take you down to the sea where you belong. It is said that a crane lives 1,000 years, but it is said that a tortoise lives 10,000. And go live your life." And he put the tortoise into the waves. He went home. He was quite tired. The next day he went fishing again, and the sky was peerless. It was blue and there were no clouds, and he went off in his boat past all the other fisher people, and he went out and out and out, and he couldn't help but think, I wish I could live as long as a tortoise and see more of life, much more of life than this one small life. And then he heard, as if in the waves, his name, Urashima Taro. And he looked around. There were no humans in sight. You've guessed it. It was the tortoise swimming alongside his boat. "Oh, my fine fellow, come up and join me." And he helped the tortoise up into his boat. And they exchanged pleasantries and small talk. And he said to the tortoise, "I would ask you first have a smoke with me, but I've forgotten my tobacco. You probably don't like tobacco anyway." And the tortoise said, "Well, I like sake and rice wine." And he said, "Surely you don't have any in your boat, do you?" And Urashima said, "I am sorry. I am sorry. I don't have any sake." And they went on with this banter. And then the tortoise asked him, "Well, surely you've seen the palace of the water dragon, king of the sea?" And Urashima said, "Why, no, I've heard of it. No, I haven't seen it." The tortoise invited him, "Come with me." "Well, how could I come? I can't hold my breath underwater for so long, and I know it's at the bottom of the sea." And tortoise said, "Hop on my back." "Oh, I can't hop on your back, you're much too small. But the turtle kept asking him just to hop on his back. And when he clambered out of the boat and put the turtle in the water, suddenly the turtle grew bigger and bigger, big enough for a man, and he sat on its back. And they went through the waves and under the waves and through the sea. And Urashima looked at his clothes. They were not even moist. And then he spied, long in the distance, he spied coral sloping roofs. And he said, "What is that?" And the tortoise said, "Oh, those are the gates to the palace that lies behind, the palace of the water dragon, king of the sea. But now you'll have to walk from this point on." And the tortoise introduced him very formally. "This is our visitor, Urashima. He is from Japan. Treat him well." And the tortoise swam away. Oh, well, there were cuttlefish and pufferfish and all kinds of guards in their sartorial splendor. And they welcomed him in and gave him a seat of honor and all kinds of delicacies. Well, I think they might be sushi. And it sounds a little apolitical, but maybe caviar and seaweed salad, something like that. And so he ate, and then he looked down, and he was dressed so simply, and he had never been to a royal palace of any kind before, and he really didn't know any decorum. But somehow he wasn't embarrassed, and he just stood tall and followed the fish. And then the most beautiful maiden came toward him. She had her hair down long, as in princesses of the olden times. She was wearing a flowing dress. And she stepped forward and she said to him, "Urashima, thank you. Thank you for saving my life, for I was the tortoise. Come, spend some time here with me, and if you would like, you could be my husband. Time here under the sea is different than your time. Look around you." He looked, to the east. It was spring, and there were plum blossoms. And then he looked south, and south it was summer, and melons were ripening in the chirps of cicadas. And then he looked to the west, and there it was autumn, and the maples were blazing, and chrysanthemums of all colors were blooming. And then he looked to the north, and there was winter with ice and snow on the branches. He could see all the seasons at one glance. He said, "Yes, I would be honored to be your husband." And so he stayed for 3 days. He was enchanted. There were so many dazzling things to see. And he was very happy with his wife, the princess. But then on the 4th day he awoke and he said, my parents don't know where I am. They're quite old and the shock might kill them and I need to go back." And so he said to the princess, his wife, "I need to go home. My parents are very old and I didn't tell them where I was going except fishing and they'll be worried and anxious for me to come." And she said, "Oh, please stay. Please stay." And she saw he was resolute. But then she said, "Just one more day with me. Won't you stay just one more day with me?" He said, "No, I must go." He was obsessed with the idea of going back and finding his parents. And so she gave him a black lacquered box, so finely made, with red silken tassels. She said, "This is for remembrance of me, a memento. Take it with you. Keep it always. Do not look inside." He bade her goodbye, he took the box and he went back on another tortoise's shell. When he got to shore, he still had the box. He wasn't even wet. He looked into the horizon. Yes, he looked around the landscape. Nothing much had changed. He looked at the shore. It was familiar. But the people walking by, he knew none of them. Not a one. Somehow he made his way to his home. It looked different. He knocked at the door. A man came. What do you want? Oh, I want my parents. They've lived here. I was gone just 4 days, and I didn't tell them where I was going. I was fishing, and the man looked at him. No, you can't be. There's a story. Urashima Taro, a fisher lad who never came back. No, you can't be. It couldn't be. That was 300 years ago. I am Urashima Taro. Oh, no, you cannot be him. You must be a ghost, come to as a tribute. I am not a ghost. You can see I'm flesh and blood. The man withdrew and said, I believe you, but they're not here. Urashima went down to the beach, still clutching his box. He looked around. He looked out to sea. The sea was so vast. I'll never know how to get back to my wife. I have no one here. No one knows me. I don't know how to get back to her. The sea is too big. He opened the box. Perhaps now I will know how to get back to my wife. At first nothing happened. But then a little purple smoke wafted up. Seemed to linger over his head. Evaporated, went out to sea. Urashima's hair turned white. His skin turned furrowed. Where he had been a young lad, strong, hale and hearty, of 24 years old and handsome, he was withered, and he fell down on the beach, dead. Now this is a genre of story. I'm sure you've heard this genre before. And this tale was told to young people as a cautionary tale. Disobedience to one wiser than you will just bring misery and sorrow. But I want you to think about disobedience and also who is wiser than you. For that is our choice today, to know who is wiser than us and when disobedience or obedience is most appropriate. And thank you for that, listening to that old story from Japan. Thank you.